Okay, we've got a storm coming in. Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden. And before we dive in, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with a gardening friend. So I'm hustling, got a storm coming in, hustling and harvesting some lisianthus, which are lovely. I forgot to go but check back there, but it is what it is because here comes the rain. But today I want to talk to you all about 10 luxury blooms that you can grow from seed in your own home garden. Okay, I'm glad I got that done because we ended up having a massive downpour that continued for like 20-30 minutes. But I've got my lisianthus in here, and these are by far my favorite luxury flower that I grow in my garden. And I think a lot of gardeners, we talk about zinnias and sunflowers and stuff like that. And so I thought it might be really fun to really focus on a set of luxury flowers that you can grow in your garden yourself. I think a lot of people think that luxury flowers are out of their budget. Florist style blooms, they think they're just, too expensive to grow. And theoretically, if you were to go buy the plants for each one, yes. But if you're working from seed, you can grow really, really expensive, high quality flowers for a tiny, tiny, insignificant price. Now they take a little more effort, but they're absolutely worth it for the jaw-dropping arrangements and garden wow factor that you will get with these flowers in your garden. Now, most of these I've grown, some of them I haven't. So some of them are on my list of things, but let's go over the 10. All right, so let's start with lisianthus. And lisianthus has been quite the journey for me to figure out how to grow it properly in my garden. Why it's considered a luxury flower. It looks like a rose and a peony had a baby, and that is so incredibly true. It's elegant, long-lasting cut flower. It is a long-lasting flower in the vase, couple of weeks. It lasts quite a while. It comes in a wide variety of colors, not a huge variety, but definitely beautiful. And a lot of the colors tend to be a little bit more neutrals and geared towards things like weddings and bridal kind of feel. Growing tip, it needs a long head start. Sow indoors 10 to 12 weeks before the last frost. That is for most zones. A lot of people like to start it in January and they get it planted out once the last frost is done. For me, for my zone, I actually like to start them in the summer. And so I've already got mine started and they're already grown from seed and they're very, very tiny and they take a while to get going. And I like to start them now and then plant them out in the fall and overwinter them. And that works really, really well for me. That typically works well probably for zones 7, 8, 9. 7, you might have to be a little bit more careful in making sure that they are covered in deep freezes, making sure that they're protected. But it allows me to get a real good jump start so that I can get a really great harvest on them in early summer. For sun and water, it requires full sun, average water, well-draining soil. I think that they do really well in a raised bed as opposed to in the ground. So that's where it's worked best for me. Mine do get full on sun. They get the hottest, worst part of the sun every day and they love it. Mine are currently giving me a second flush. This is my second flush blooms. I had cut all of them back and this is them giving me another flush and I'll continue doing that until our first frost. Cost savings. One packet of these is pricey, in my opinion, for seeds. Way more pricier than you would think on other seeds. However, each one of these stems is about $4 to $6 in Florist World. That's like the wholesale price. And so when you think what you can do with just, paying, I would say 50 cents per seed because it's kind of pricey. But just for that one seed, the amount of flowers that you can get and the amount of stems you can get is nothing compared to what you would pay for a florist price. Okay, some of my varieties to try. My current favorite one is Celeb Blue Chateau. It has a very vintage feel to it, like a soft lavender gray color, which is eye for gorgeous. Currently obsessed with it. I also love Roseanne Black Pearl. I have a second flush of those coming up right now. And it is a lovely kind of vintagey deep purple kind of feel. I guess I like vintage flower looking flowers. And then one that I want to try is Arena Apricot. That would be a new one for me. I like apricot colors. I think they're really lovely. Okay, so lisianthus, really love them. A great way to get started with a luxury flower from seed in your own garden. Now, moving on for number 2 is Snapdragons. And a lot of people don't consider these luxury. They absolutely are a luxury cut flower. Why it's a luxury? They are a staple in florist bouquets for height and structure. Very unique, beautiful line flowers that give a lot to an arrangement and design. They come in a wide variety of colors, textures. I would say they're more towards like pinks, purples, oranges, yellows, those burgundies, that kind of color. You don't see a lot of traditional reds over there. You'll see some oranges as well, but absolutely beautiful colors, tones, and texture. Growing tip, you need to sow indoors in cool temps 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost. For me, it's already started mine. So I've got a ton over there, and I'll have to scan over to the pictures. I've got a ton of Snapdragons already started now. I like to start them during the summer, plant them out in the fall, overwinter them, and then have early spring blooms. They do brilliantly for me in my particular zone following that pattern. I also feel like Snapdragons are pretty easy to start from seed. So this is definitely a great beginner luxury flower for a lot of people. Sun and water needs. It needs full sun, consistent moisture, which is really important. My Snapdragon beds are set up to drip irrigation. They cannot dry out. If they dry out, they will not make it. So they must have consistent moisture. I also feel that these do better in raised beds, or containers would be fine, as opposed to directly into your garden soil, directly into the ground. Definitely do better, in my opinion, in raised beds. Bonus for the Snapdragons, long lasting in a vase, and they rebloom if deadheaded. So I actually just deadheaded all of my fall, I just deadheaded all of my Snapdragons for fall blooms. So I went and I cut everything back to about 6 inches above the ground. I'm not going to fertilize them right this moment, but I'll probably fertilize them in the next couple of weeks. Although I will say when those were planted, they had a lot of compost. So that soil should still be really good. And then I've deadheaded them. They're taking a little break during the hottest part of the summer. Hopefully they'll give me a round of blooms come fall. Now, varieties to try. I have tried a lot of varieties of Snapdragons. For fun, I like the Madame Butterfly series. They are roughly and interesting and unique. That is really any of the colors. I think they're all fun. Anything that says Madame Butterfly, you should try one of those. Costa Apricot is one that I'm wanting to do more of. I did grow it this last year, and I really like kind of the light apricot yellowy color to it. I think it's really, really lovely. And then hands down, my favorite is Costa Summer Lavender. It's just got this clear, crisp lavender color and has a touch of pink in there that is just, it's just to die for beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous in arrangements and in your garden. Okay, number 3 on my list is stock. And this is one that I have struggled to grow. However, when I was growing it, it was a few years ago, and I think I've learned a lot more about seed starting since then. So maybe this time next year, I'll start around a stock. I guess I still have time to start. I should not be starting any more seeds, though. No more starting seeds at this point for me. But stock is hands down one of my favorite florist flowers. The smell is amazing. So why it's a luxury? Its fragrance is unbelievable. It is clean and just sweet and smells like spring, and oh my gosh, I just love stock. It's upright blooms with a romantic vibe. It's like a smaller, shorter version of Snapdragons, in my opinion. It doesn't come in as wide a variety of colors as Snapdragons do, but it is full and lush and ruffly and beautiful. Growing tip for stock, it likes cool weather. So it's best for spring or fall in warm zones. So I have tried stock a number of different ways. I've tried just starting it in early spring, and that didn't work because I didn't get it out fast enough. And it doesn't like the heat, just like what we were chatting about. I've started in the summer, planted out in the fall. Didn't really get much from it. I really think I need to give it a start maybe in early January. Get it started in early January and then be able to plant it out once my last frost is done. And actually, I think it can handle a little bit of frost. So I could probably plant it out in late February, and that would probably work out really well. But it loves cooler weather. Once the warmth hits, it will go to seed and it will not flower any longer. All right, sun and water needs. It needs full sun, moderate water. I also grow this, have grown this in a raised bed. I haven't grown it in the ground or container before. I would think it would do fine in a container. I'm not sure about ground. And when I say ground, I mean, I'm talking about my Texas clay soil is not the best. So if you are in a different area that doesn't deal with the clay that I deal with, it would probably most likely be fine. Cut flower tip for stalk. You want to harvest it just before the blooms open. So you don't want all the blooms to open because then it won't last as long in your vase. And so you just want to wait until maybe you see the just a very few bottom blooms have bloomed and then everything else is still closed. Go ahead and harvest it at that point. Varieties to try, and these are all varieties that I would like to try. In the past, I've just tried mixes, but these are ones that I am looking at that I would like to try in the future. One is the Quartet mix, and I like to try a lot of different mixes and just see what is interesting to me. Vintage lavender, anything vintage lavender, vintage purple color is going to be for me. And then iron purple, which is considered a staple variety in floral world. All right, number 4 on my list is Scabiosa. And Scabiosa was one of the first cut flowers that I started growing from seed. I have a lot of experience with it. I don't actually plant it very often anymore. I've just moved on to other things that I really like, but Scabiosa is an excellent, amazing luxury flower. Why it's luxury? It's delicate but dramatic, and it's loved in designer bouquets. It has a round flower, and it really adds a pop of color and texture to designs. I've grown anything from dark black burgundy colors all the way to creamy, crisp whites and pinks in between as well. But it is a lovely flower, and it does have some color that you really can't find in other places, like those dark burgundy tones. Growing tips, you want to start indoors 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost, or direct sow in early spring. I've never done direct sowing with it. I don't direct sow very much stuff at all because I am notorious for not paying attention to it and then nothing happening. And also my weather is very inconsistent. And so I could sow one day and we could have torrential downpour, and then a day later we could have 100-degree temps. So direct sowing is not my bag. I start almost everything inside. And in the past, I typically have started Scabiosa in late January. That's worked really well for me. Sun and water needs. It is a full sun and needs average water. In the past, it has grown in some areas that are a little bit more dry for me, and I have grown Scabiosa directly in my soil, my native soil here, and it's done fabulous. I've also grown it in raised beds, and it's done really well. Bonus, it also offers unique seed heads for dried use, and so you can allow the flowers to bloom and then just leave them on the plant. Eventually all the petals will fall off, and it will leave these little unique seed heads that are really fun for designs. I would say about, 15 years ago, there was a real stride in Scabiosa seed heads in floral world, and they were in bouquets and boutonnieres and all of that kind of stuff. But it's a very unique texture and makes this a really kind of cool papery sound, which is very cool. Varieties to try, and I've tried 2 of these 3. Black Knight, it's hands down my favorite, deep, dark, beautiful, black, almost blackberry color. Absolutely gorgeous. Definitely has a purple undertone to it. Lovely. Fama White, it is a different type of Scabiosa. It's more of a flared out Scabiosa rather than a button Scabiosa, and it doesn't put off a lot of stems per plant. However, the stems it does put off are absolutely lovely. Very beautiful, unique flowers. And then finally, Salmon Rose, which now I'm thinking about it, I think I have grown Salmon Rose. It's kind of a medium pink color. And it's a really kind of pretty dusty pink color, which looks really gorgeous. Okay, number 5 on my list is Queen Anne's lace. And a lot of people are like, why is that luxury? Oh, y'all. Queen Anne's lace is a game changer in bouquets and designs. It is lacy, airy filler with a wildflower elegance. And for me, once you plant Queen Anne's lace in your garden, you'll have it forever and ever and ever. You have to work definitely to maintain it. but there's something, it almost adds like a sparkle to a bouquet because the seed heads are just so beautiful, or the flower heads are just so beautiful and airy and light. Definitely, in my opinion, a luxury flower. Growing tip: direct sow or cold stratify for better germination. So it took me a little bit to figure out how to get Queen Anne's lace started. I do not grow it inside. It started inside. I direct sow, and I direct sowed one year, and I direct sowed like in November, which is a little too late. I probably should have direct sowed in September. Probably would have been better. And anyway, it didn't get enough cold, and so I didn't see anything that next spring. Nothing happened, and I was like, oh well, I guess that didn't work. And then the following spring, a whole nother year later, I had a bed full of Queen Anne's lace. It just needed longer, colder temps. And once it had that, it took off. And I've never had to plant it again. It has just gone and gone and gone. I always pull a bunch of the flowers before they go to seed, but I always leave a couple of the plants there so that they can drop seeds for the next year. And they've already dropped all their seeds. They dropped their seeds in late spring. So those seeds have already been out there going through the process, the whole thing. And then as soon as we hit cool weather, they will start going through their cold stratification process, and then they will give me blooms again next year. Sun and water needs: full sun, low water once established. And that is definitely true. The area that I have them in, I need a coaster. The area that I have them in, it does have drip irrigation, but has less drip irrigation than most areas, and they do beautifully there. And they are in full sun all day next to brick, and brick really puts off a lot of heat. So they're basically in an oven, and they do great. Now, if you're wanting to grow them for more harvesting, a pro tip is to plant in succession for longer harvests. It really just who you are. You'd have to plant them, you'd have to cold stratify the seeds yourself, and then you'd have to plant them out in spring in like succession every 2 weeks. I don't do that. All of mine come to fruition about the same time. Definitely too many stems, more stems than I'll ever need of Queen Anne's lace, but it's beautiful. I love it. The pollinators love it, and it works great. It does bloom for like 6 weeks, so that's plenty of time for me to enjoy the Queen Anne's lace. Varieties to try. I love Dara, which is like deep purpley chocolate kind of colors, and I think that those are really fun. I have a lot less of those in my garden than I used to, so maybe that's something that I need to restart by tossing out some Dara seeds. And getting some of those chocolate tones, because I really do love those. There's also just a traditional Casablanca with pure white colors, which are really lovely, and then green mist, where the blooms are more of a green tone, which is really lovely as well. I definitely think I'm going to add Dara to my seed list. Get those direct sown. And then when I say direct sown, they're literally just toss it out, which is really, really fun. Okay, number 6 on my list is China asters, and why it's a luxury. Fluffy, peony-like flowers in rich colors. And it's definitely specific varieties of China asters that are more of a luxury flower. And it's definitely like the double varieties, the Duchess varieties that look more like peonies, and that's why they're considered a luxury. Growing tips: start indoors 6 to 8 weeks before last frost, needs good air circulation, and that is definitely the truth. I've never been able to, I don't believe that China asters are cut and come again. Some people say they are. Every time I cut them, I get nothing else back. The plant dies and it's done. So that's kind of been for me. I used to grow China asters quite a bit, and then I kind of just forgot about them and got distracted by other things. And I did grow another round of China asters this year. I grew the white Duchess, which was pretty, and I grew the pink peony Duchess, which was also really lovely. I would like to grow them again. I put them directly into our clay soil. They did fine. I'd love to see them in a raised bed this time. See how that they do that way. Sun and water: they need full sun and regular watering. Nothing super special. They just need regular care. Cost savings: they are a big impact flower for a fraction of the cost that you would pay for flowers at the florist. And so you're literally paying pennies per stem when you're growing China asters yourself. Some varieties to try: peony apricot is lovely, light, airy, definitely has a peony feel. Not giant like a peony, but like a little smaller, which is really nice. The Tower Chamois, that's a kind of a beautiful white creamy color, which is lovely. And then the Valkyrie mix. And I love trying mixes, especially when I'm trying to figure out what it is that I like. I like to grow a lot of mixes, just so I can see a wide variety before I kind of really zero in on one particular color or variety that I would like to grow. Okay, number 7 on my list is dahlias from seed, not tubers, from seed. Why it's a luxury, they're usually grown from tubers, but seed-grown varieties bloom beautifully as well. And dahlias are definitely a luxury flower among floral world. Expensive luxury flower. They don't have a very long vase life, but they are beautiful, unique, large statement flowers. A few growing tips: you want to start indoors and transplant after danger of frost. And I have grown them from seed. The thing about growing them from seed is you don't know what you're going to get. Like, it's totally up in the air. So when I grew from seed, I ended up getting little tiny little dahlias, which is fine. It was super fun to do it, and they were very prolific, and I loved it. And I think it's worth a try growing dahlias from seed prior to buying tubers, because tubers are expensive. So sun and water needs: it needs full sun, rich soil, and deep watering. They grow by far the best for me in raised beds. However, I do have a couple of varieties that are in my clay soil that do consistently come back year after year, although I feel like we're getting to the point in time where I need to dig those up and divide out those tubers, because they've been there for like 5 or 6 years now. Probably need to divide those. Bonus: some may form tubers to save for the next year. So you can start them from seed. If it ends up being a bloom that you like, you can dig it up and see if it formed a tuber, and then save that tuber for the following year, which is lovely. They do have to be lifted. They do not do well with freezing temps. Varieties to try, and this, as a reminder, this is dahlias from seed. The Dahlia Figaro mix, which is a little bit of a shorter variety, but absolutely lovely. And Bishop's Children, which I've never tried, but it is on my list of, things that interest me. I definitely keep like a running list of seeds and plants that I might be interested in growing in the future. I will say there's something very joyful about growing dahlias from seed. Definitely worth a try. Okay, number 8 on my list is feverfew. Why it's a luxury: it's used as a delicate filler and gives wild bouquet style and feel to designs. And it is extremely delicate, beautiful flower that does great in floral arrangements. Very unique and different, which is why it's a luxury. Growing tips: you want to start indoors or direct sow in early spring. This is an area of feverfew I have failed over and over and over and over again. But that has all been direct sowing outside. So I definitely think I need to just take a leap and start them inside. I just haven't done it. So definitely something I need to go after. Maybe I'll do it this next year. We'll see. I just typically have so many plants in my garden for the spring that I don't leave room for feverfew. Sun and water needs: it needs full sun and low to moderate water needs. It does love full sun. It's definitely a spring flower, early spring flower, and it will die back before our heat hits. Varieties to try: Vigoro White is one that I've tried in the past, and that's a little bit of a taller variety. Tetra White, I believe, is a little bit of a shorter variety, which is also beautiful. And then finally, Magic Lime, and you can just determine that that has a little bit of a green tone to it. Okay, number 9 on my list is delphinium, and delphinium is, oh my gosh, I love delphinium. Why it's a luxury: tall, majestic spikes, stunning and romantic or English style gardens, and you can get it in blue. And blue is just not a color that is readily available in flowers. So being able to grow delphinium, specifically blue delphinium flowers, is quite the luxury. Now, growing tips: cold stratification of seeds and start indoors early. I actually have delphinium started over here. Ironically, it's not blue. It's Astellat delphinium in a red color, which is really pretty. So it's actually, it looks like I need to pull some of these seed heads off here. Oh, it's doing fine. I did not cold stratify these, and these did really, really well. I feel like delphinium seeds are hit or miss for me. I feel like the newer the seeds are, the better they're going to do. If I let delphinium seeds sit for months or years, they do not do well for me at all. The newer, more brand new the seeds are, the better germination rate and the better they do for me. Sun and water needs. Full sun needs rich soil and consistent water. I don't give mine full sun. I give mine afternoon shade. They get morning sun, 6 hours, morning, beginning of afternoon sun, and then in the evenings or late afternoons when it starts to get hotter, they get shaded. They do better for me in my climate that way. And I do think that they do better planted in a raised bed or container situation as opposed to planted in my native soil. Cost savings. I would say delphinium is probably hands down one of the biggest cost savings for flowers, growing luxury flowers. Buying delphinium in bloom is big bucks. I mean, you can buy just like a small gallon and they're $29.99. I mean, astronomical, right? And they're so hard to resist because that blue color is just stunning. But seeds are the frugal way to work around that and really have some beautiful blooms. I grow mine for specifically for cut flowers, so I don't really grow them to like fill in my garden space or anything like that. These that I'm growing right here, I'm really excited about this variety. Varieties to try. Pacific Giants Mix is a great opportunity to grow a wide variety of whites, lavenders, mid blues, dark blues, and you get to try just a lot and see a lot of different color. Magic Fountain Series is also gives you that same opportunity to see a lot of different varieties and color. And then I am focused currently on the Asters series. Specifically on the kind of reddish pink tones. I'm really interested to see what those are going to look like in delphinium form. Okay, and number 10 on my list, the one luxury flower that I've failed out over and over and over again, but I don't care, I'm going to keep trying, is Orlaya, which is also known as white lace flower. Why? It's a luxury, pure white, delicate, high-end filler alternative to Queen Anne's lace. And it is absolutely beautiful, delicate, gorgeous, and really makes a bouquet sing. Definitely a little bit harder to grow. So some growing tips: direct sow or cold stratify. I've tried them all. Doesn't work for me. So those of you who have grown Orlaya with success in Texas Zone 8, those are the people I need. I need the people who have grown Orlaya in Texas Zone 8. Tell me your secrets. Help me out. Help a girl out. Sun and water needs. It needs full sun to moderate water. I've always grown it in raised beds because I just don't feel like it will do well in my heavy clay soil. Bonus, it adds elegant texture to bouquets and dried arrangements. So it does dry very well with some beautiful blooms. Definitely kind of a miniature version of Queen Anne's lace. Queen Anne's lace flowers get really big, and the Orlaya heads are much smaller. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed going through this. You know, I was working on a list of cut flowers that I like to grow, blah, blah, blah. And I had lisianthus in there, and I kept thinking, oh, well, that one's a luxury flower. And then I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just do a whole video on luxury flowers that we can grow in our gardens. So very interesting, unique varieties that are expensive in floral world. And so this was a really fun list to put together. Now, I'm sure I missed some, so I would love to know what your thoughts are. Today's focus was from seed, so it didn't include things like roses and such, which are also considered luxury flowers. These are luxury flowers from seed that we can grow ourselves. But in the comments below, drop me some ideas of luxury flowers that you grow in your garden. Something that's considered unique and different in floral world. I'm sure I missed several, but I would love to see what y'all's ideas are, or if any of these are interesting for you to grow. I have videos on almost all of these: lisianthus, snapdragon, scabiosa, Queen Anne's lace, China asters, dahlias, delphinium. So the only ones I don't have a lot of videos on are Orlaya, feverfew, and stock. And that's because I just don't have a ton of success with those. So I don't feel like it's appropriate for me to try to teach how to grow those. I need to have way more success and knowledge on those flowers first. Anyway, drop me a comment below. Let me know what you're looking forward to starting for luxury flowers in your garden. As always, make sure you like and comment on the video. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow the video so much, as well as my channel. And if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, just drop me an emoji below, letting me know that you made it to the end of the video and you say hi. And be sure to check me out, my Patreon community. Words are hard today for me. It is all things She's a Mad Gardener, all things gardening. It's just a great group of people that I really enjoy chatting with. It's lovely, sharing pictures, chatting about successes, failures in the garden. I also fill in behind the scenes stuff with my life, which is really fun and lovely to kind of share. Like, I'm not always gardening. I have a lot of other stuff that I do, and I like to share things like that as well. There's a free tier that you can join in under where you will see, maybe a couple of posts per week. And then the higher up you are in the tiers, paid tiers, you get more access, including daily posts, as well as exclusive videos only available to the highest patrons, as well as group chats and photo sharing. All right, you all, as always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.